Hey guys, thought I'd give an update on the Impala. I have the doghouse off. It's actually outside the garage over here somewhere, and got the hood hinges and everything on, and the hood's back here. Excuse the mess, I've been working in here. Nice big Hemi engine. 350 NV 3500 still going in the car. I do have an intake, carburetor, HEI distributor, and I don't have a fuel pump yet. I gotta buy one of those little $40, $50, $60, whatever Edelbrock fuel pumps. But I'm going to raise the body up off the frame probably this weekend and get the engine and transmission set. Everything's going to fit and work right from what I can tell with measurements so far, but the cross member that's right here does have to be modified just a little bit to work with the NV3500. I got to figure out a mount for it is basically what's going to happen. And then I got to make the drive shaft work, obviously. I've got the truck drive shaft in the car there. You can see it right there. So maybe, if the U-joints are the same, I can just take the slip yoke off of this and put it onto this or something. Anyway, worst case scenario, I got to take the Indy rack and axle and they'll build a drive shaft for me, but side note, I got my tail lights all put together. Don't pay any attention to what's in the trunk of this car. I had to move my bike earlier to get that salamander out. But I'm just missing the one chrome. All the tail light lenses are inside. Got a nice new trunk lock on there. Got all the door locks, ignition, everything, and glove box all actually went on one key. I haven't put the door locks on yet. They're still over here, all nice and fresh and new. But mainly just an update on the interior. I figured out pretty much. Let me grab a flashlight real quick. I've mainly figured out every bit of wiring inside the car and most of what's under the hood. I got to figure out how I'm going to bypass the junction box voltage regulator stuff, but I did get the dash all painted black. Glove box door, you can still see some blue on it because they're scratching it up. Ashtray, ignition, cigarette lighter, wiper, headlights, all that stuff. Get your cluster plugs there, and I did get the piece that goes in right here. I'll show you that in a minute. One thing that was interesting, if you see the blue and the yellow splice connectors there on the ignition, so somebody at some point in time had cut off the purple being the solenoid, and the black wire with the blue butt connector on it is it's black and pink. It's the ignition source for your coil and whatnot. They'd cut those ends off right there and put them on some harness under the hood for some reason. I don't know why. They busted that plug off, cut those two ends off, and just felt like they didn't need them, I guess. I don't know. So I had to put that back together. Looks like right here. It just goes on the cigarette lighter there. Now it's powered. I got the fuse block down there. I gotta figure out how, because I guess the wiring comes, according to the wiring schematic, it goes from the alternator, the back of the alternator, over to the junction box, the horn relay / junction box, which is all part of the doghouse, so I'm not going to go outside and show you that. Then over to the alternator regulator, and then splits off somewhere from there to one of these wires that comes out of the fuse box to power the inside of the car. The fuse box, your headlight switch, ignition, blah, 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 blah. So I've got to figure that part out, but everything else is completely wired and done. All the way clear back to the tail lights. And I do have, sorry guys, it's like 20 degrees out here, but I do have all of the wiring out here. It's on the doghouse, I'm sorry. Except for, I haven't figured out the plug on the wiper motor here. I gotta figure that one out. I think that's a ground that goes to it maybe, but I don't know. But I was able to save the clutch pedal master cylinder and everything out of the truck that I pulled the engine from. So mainly my next bit of destruction, I guess, best way to put it, is to mount this guy. It mounts up against the firewall, obviously on the other side of the firewall, but it'll mount like that coming through from the other side. And if you look at the back of the plate here, the master cylinder for the clutch twists into this square hole here. So I got to figure out where I'm going to line this up and mount it and poke through somewhere in this general vicinity right here next to the brake, I guess. I'm going to have to poke through somewhere here and make a hole for the master to sit. But other than that, this car is pretty much coming right along pretty well. I've got a lot of the blue knocked off of it. I got to start doing, supposed to hit 50, 60 degrees area this coming week. So I'm going to take this guy outside and pressure wash him off real good and start priming him down so I can get some more of that flat black paint on it. Because obviously I'm not a rich man. I cannot afford to drop this car off at a body shop and hand them $10,000 and say, here, I want it to have a perfect, beautiful black paint job. Albeit the car is rust-free enough that a perfect, beautiful black paint job is not outside of the question. But I mean, y'all want to give me the money, I'll do it. But, you know, otherwise we gotta kind of go on my schedule, and that'd probably be further on down the road. The other thing I gotta figure out is whether or not I can use the radiator out of that Chevy truck and make it work with the radiator hole that goes in the core support here. It's similar, obviously missing mounts, but I can make mounts work. I might tomorrow take this intake off and all that, go back through, gasket the motor up. I am keeping the CERT belt drive, and I am keeping this style power steering, obviously, because it's CERT belt drive. And I'm going to have a hydraulics company that I know and have used before for exactly this, actually, make the hoses pretty much in the exact bin that I need for them to come down here to the power steering box. You see the two rusty lines there. They just hook into there very similarly to how all your new GM stuff works. I do have some shorty headers. I've got the intake, the carburetor, HEI distributor. I've got all that. I got to get a little Edelbrock fuel pump, but she should be able to very soon at least move under her own power. She's not the fanciest thing in the world, and I still haven't vacuumed it out because my vacuum's buried back there behind the motorcycle. So that'll probably happen once I get the frame out and the body set back down on the frame, and then I can drag the car forward some. I'll get that taken care of. Just a little bit of cleanup work back here, some extra chrome stuff laying around, a lot of leaves. Taillight connector right there, it looks like. But there's the truck drive shaft. Slip yokes on the other side. So I'm hoping that I can make this work. The U-joints might be the same as the ones on the car. Actually, I could probably find that out pretty easily. But I basically got a bunch of cool stuff from the Impala guy. I don't know why that looks so oily. Must have been, I had to replace a valve cover gasket on the old lady's car earlier. I sprayed all the oil off the engine. That must be what that is with the brake clean. But I guess I could look online and see what the U-joint part numbers are, or at least the dimensions on the U-joints, and see if they're similar enough. If they're similar enough, then I can swap my slip yoke over, because obviously this car would have come with a Muncie 4-speed, and they're only a 16 spline shaft, whereas your NV3500 is a 27 spline shaft. So they're never going to mesh. But at least if I can put that together, worst case scenario, I have to have the drive shaft either lengthened or shortened a little bit. Not a huge deal. Here's the dash metal thing that I have for the clusters. Yeah. The cluster here, all these tabs and bolt holes bolt to the back side of this back here, as you can see, and then the cluster is inside this, and then this has all these screw holes everywhere, and it screws to the dash. So that's pretty cool. I did find a vinyl cushiony dash pad thing that like lays over this all the way across and over to the top of the glove box there. So I thought that was kind of cool. I might get that. I found a black one. Really, I just need, if you see that fancy chromeness on the ashtray there, I need the piece that obviously matches that and starts at the edge of that ashtray and comes all the way over here to the edge of the dash right here where the flashlight beam is. So I've got to get that. I got to talk to the Impala guy when I go back to him, but because I forgot about it. But everything else is ship shape. There's some more of that beautiful original Lagoon Aqua color that is just, it's an awesome color. I really might have to go back to that color when I do put a paint job on this car. I'd really like it to be black, but that color on the outside trimmed out all black inside, I think that would be pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. But that's really all I have for you guys today. Next time you see it, there will definitely be this engine and transmission will definitely be located in this hole right here. Next time you see it, I may do a quick video of setting the engine and transmission and what modifications it takes to make that cross member, if I see right past the wood there, to make that cross member work with that transmission. I may do a little video of that and maybe running the brake lines and the fuel lines and stuff. But for the most part, next time you guys see this car, the motor and trans should be in it, and the body will be bolted to the frame with the bumpers on it, most likely. And she'll be ready for, I'll probably put the bumpers on just for aesthetics. Light bolt right here. Just, hang it on there, make sure everything lines up, take them back off, and really start hitting the sanding priming game real hard and getting her all prepped and beautifuled up. Because that's the plan. We're going to make her somewhat pretty, at least much prettier than she is now, and make her run and drive great. There will probably be a video in the future of going through and replacing all of the suspension components. So these upper control arms with those caster camber adjusters there. Sway bar link ends. I might upgrade the sway bar to something bigger. That power steering unit right there, depending on if it leaks or not. Inner and outer tie rods, shocks in the front, shocks in the rear, and the springs in the rear because they're coil springs. But other than that, really the only other thing that I'll be ready to do would be replacing the entire braking system, which, don't get me wrong, I've got her best priced out, about $360, get all new drums, shoes, wheel cylinders, hardware kits, and all that good stuff. So, it's a wise man told me the other day that these things are not outlandishly undoable. They just take time and money. And that's the biggest two things. It's a lot of time and a lot of money to get them the way you want. You can budget build them and do like I'm doing right now, just worrying about the mechanical and not worrying about the body work. And that will save you a ton of freaking money if you're not worried about the body work right off the bat. But if you're worried about the body work right off the bat, you just got to be prepared to sink a lot of money in. you know, a lot of Bondo, fiberglass, body beating, you know, getting everything beat out, if I can speak properly, soda blast, sand blast, what have you, and just getting everything ready, especially for a black paint job. You know, you see every little wave and dimple, and you just see everything in a black paint job. But luckily, my car, I picked out something that was fairly straight and fairly dent-free and fairly rust-free. So really, it's just a lot of, I mean, this is really the only body work on the whole car that I have to do, which I've explained to you guys before. Somebody had, I don't know, they cut it with something. I don't know, it's not a weld seam or anything, because there's no, on the inside or outside, no seam sealer or anything here. So this panel hasn't been cut off probably ever in its life. I really don't know what happened there. But really, all this car comes down to is just a good sand down and prime up. I mean, just going to make all this smooth and beautiful and shoot some primer on it. And maybe I'll do an acrylic enamel paint job before Power Tour. Maybe not. It just depends. If I can get a hold of that Lagoon Aqua, which is paint code 919, and I can get the body straight enough, you know, me and my grandfather have painted cars with acrylic enamel before, and it turns out all right. I've never been disappointed or dissatisfied with one of them. So, hell, who knows if I can get a hold of the color and enough of it to do the car, and it's cost efficient, and I feel like tearing all the chrome off the car and taping everything off from him to spray it down, and then by all means, if you guys come to Power Tour, you'll see it all nice and pretty in Lagoon Aqua. Otherwise, it's going to be a primer gray or a flat black. But that's all I have for you guys now. Just thought I'd shoot and share an update so you guys see what was going on and keep track of the progress that I'm making on the car. So if you like it, cool. Like it, subscribe, comment, share, and I'll see you next time.